You know, some stories sound like they're straight out of a Hollywood movie, right? Well, this is one of them, but the thing is, it's all true. We're talking about a heist so smart, so audacious, that it literally shook the most powerful government on the planet. Get ready for the story of the super dollar heist. Now, this quote right here. The only man who made the US government fakaki hatmeagi. What does that even mean? It's a Hindi saying that basically means you're so scared, your heart is in your hands. Just terrified. And get this, that wasn't said about some super spy or a powerful general. Nope, it was said about one guy, one single person who brought the US government to its knees with nothing more than paper and ink. So that begs the question, right? Who on earth could single-handedly terrify the world's most powerful government? I mean, really, think about that. To truly rattle a superpower, you'd think you'd need a whole army or maybe another country backing you up. But just one person? So who was he? Who had the brains and, frankly, the guts to even try something like this? All right, let's meet the man himself. His name is Frank Bourassa. And for more than 10 years, he was basically a ghost, an invisible force pumping out the most perfect counterfeit cash the world had ever seen. Seriously. People started calling him the ghost of counterfeiting because he wasn't just some run-of-the-mill criminal. You could almost say he was an artist. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're dealing with here, look at this number, 270 crore rupees. To put that in perspective, that's over $250 million US dollars. And here's the kicker. He didn't steal it. He printed it, an absolutely staggering amount of flawless, untraceable money that he just injected into the world's economy, all from his own little secret workshop. Okay, so the big question is, how? How in the world did one guy pull this off? See, it wasn't just about having a good printer. It was the absolute genius of his whole process. So let's dive into what the source material calls his super dollar logic. So first things first, we gotta understand exactly what he was making. We're not talking about those blurry fakes you could spot from a mile away. No way. Bourassa was creating something called super dollars. These were counterfeit bills so perfect, so incredibly well made, that they couldn't be detected. They'd pass bank checks, they'd fool experts. They were basically indistinguishable from the real thing. So how did he achieve this level of perfection? Well, it all came down to a brilliant three-step process. Step 1, the paper. He somehow found a paper source that was an almost perfect match to real US currency. Step 2, the printing itself. He obsessed over every tiny detail, the ink, the watermarks, you name it, until it was absolutely flawless. And then, step 3, and this is the really clever part, the chant move. Chant basically means cunning. Instead of dumping all this cash at once, which would raise all sorts of red flags, he'd release it in small, totally random batches. It made tracing it completely impossible. It was like trying to find one specific drop of rain in a hurricane. He literally made himself invisible. And this whole system, it worked. It worked perfectly for years. He was a complete ghost, printing millions and millions of dollars, totally off the grid. But, you know, every story has to end sometime. The real shocker here isn't that he eventually got caught. Oh no, the real twist is what happened after they caught him. Just think about this for a second. This guy wasn't some flash in the pan. He was in business for a full decade. 10 years. The entire time, the US Secret Service, we're talking one of the best financial crime units on the planet, had no idea. They were totally in the dark. So after a manhunt that lasted a decade, you've got to imagine they were ready to throw the book at him, right? And here it is, the big reveal. 6 weeks. Yep, that's it. 6 weeks. Let that sink in. For printing $250 million, for running circles around authorities for 10 years, his punishment was just 6 weeks in jail. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it? I mean, just look at this comparison. On the one hand, you've got a crime that totals over $250 million, a direct hit to the US economy. And on the other hand, a punishment that's literally shorter than a summer break. So how? How is that even possible? Well, he cut a deal, a brilliant one. He offered up all his printing plates and all the leftover cash he had, and in exchange, he got that ridiculously short sentence. He didn't just play the system, he mastered it, just like he mastered printing. So what happens next for a guy like that? A guy who pulls off one of the biggest heists in modern history and, let's be honest, basically gets away with it. What does your life even look like after you've so completely beaten the system? Well, this is where the story of the man ends, and the legend of the ghost begins. And true to form, just as he'd lived for a decade, he disappeared. After he served that comically short sentence, Frank Borisa just vanished, faded right back into the shadows. He went back to being the ghost, leaving nothing behind but this incredible story. No tell-all interviews, no victory laps, nothing. He was just gone. And that really brings us full circle, back to the whole idea of his logic. From finding the perfect paper to engineering the perfect getaway, his entire operation was just a masterclass in strategic thinking. It's just like the source material says at the end. That's real master logic. And, it's pretty hard to argue with that. So what's the takeaway here? How do you categorize someone like Frank Barassa? Was he a genius, a criminal, or maybe a legend? Was he just a brilliant crook, or was he something more? Maybe someone who single-handedly exposed just how vulnerable a superpower can be? Or is he just a modern-day myth, a story that proves what one incredibly focused mind can achieve? In the end, I guess that's for you to decide.